By the time Julius Caesar appeared, the Roman Republic had already stopped working. Julius Caesar is often remembered as the man who destroyed the Roman Republic, the ambitious general, the dictator, the tyrant who ended democracy. But this story gets something fundamental wrong. Caesar did not break the Republic. By the time he appeared, the Republic was already broken. What Caesar did was step into a system that had been preparing for someone like him for decades. And once you understand that, his rise stops looking shocking and starts looking inevitable. Long before Caesar crossed the Rubicon, Rome had changed. Politics was no longer decided by debate or law. It was decided by pressure, by threats, by force. Civil war had taught Romans a dangerous lesson. Violence worked. Once that lesson was learned, it could never be unlearned. The Roman Republic had been built for compromise. It assumed that losing an election was not the end of your life, that political defeat was temporary, that today's enemy could be tomorrow's ally. That assumption no longer held. By the 1st century BCE, Roman politics had become existential. Lose badly enough, and you could be exiled, or ruined, or killed. Under those conditions, moderation stopped making sense. Power shifted away from institutions and toward individuals. Men who could protect their supporters, men who could reward loyalty, men who commanded armies. Generals became politicians, and politics became something you won or died trying. What made this system so dangerous was that it rewarded the wrong kind of behavior. The Roman Republic no longer rewarded restraint. It punished it. A politician who played by the rules was exposed. A politician who bent them survived. A politician who broke them outright often thrived. Over time, this changed who rose to the top. Men who valued compromise disappeared. Men who valued loyalty over law advanced. Men who could inspire fear became indispensable. This wasn't corruption in the traditional sense, it was adaptation. The Republic had become an environment where survival required bending reality, not defending principles. Caesar understood this better than most. He didn't just seek power, he built protection. Protection for himself, protection for his allies, protection for those who tied their future to his success. In a functioning republic, this would have been alarming. In Rome, it was practical, because by this point, the state could no longer guarantee safety. Only individuals could. And once safety became personal, loyalty followed power, not institutions. This is how republics lose control. Not in a single moment, but when citizens stop trusting the system to protect them and start trusting people instead. Caesar did not invent this system. He learned how to survive inside it. He watched earlier strongmen march on Rome and succeed. He watched political violence go unpunished. He watched the Senate bend, then break, under pressure. Most importantly, he learned that legality mattered less than results. If you won, you were justified. If you lost, the law would not save you. Caesar's rise was not sudden. It was gradual, methodical, and completely rational within the system Rome had created. He built popularity by aligning himself with ordinary citizens. He gained loyalty through generosity and debt relief. He earned devotion by leading soldiers personally in war. These were not revolutionary tactics. They were adaptations. Because in a republic that could no longer protect its politicians, protection had to be found elsewhere. At this point in the story, it's tempting to focus on Caesar's ambition. But ambition alone does not topple republics. Plenty of ambitious men had existed before him. What made Caesar different was that the system no longer had defenses strong enough to stop him. The Senate could not enforce its authority. The courts could not guarantee safety. Elections could not resolve conflicts. So power flowed to the only place left, the army. If you're enjoying this breakdown of how systems collapse from the inside, subscribe to the channel. This episode is part of a series explaining why the Roman Republic didn't fall suddenly, but slowly, logically, and almost predictably, because what happens next only makes sense once you see how inevitable it had become. When Caesar was ordered to give up his command and return to Rome as a private citizen, the demand was framed as lawful. But Caesar understood the reality behind it. Without his army, he would be vulnerable. Political enemies would prosecute him, strip his status, possibly kill him. This was not paranoia. It was precedent. Rome had already taught its politicians what happened when you lost protection. So Caesar faced a choice the Republic itself had created: obey the law and risk destruction, or break it to survive. Crossing the Rubicon was not the beginning of tyranny. It was the admission that the Republic no longer worked. Once Caesar crossed that river, the remaining fiction collapsed. The idea that politics could function without force was already gone. Caesar simply made that reality undeniable. Even then, Rome resisted calling this what it was. The Senate continued to meet. Offices continued to exist. The language of the Republic was preserved. But real power no longer lived there. It followed Caesar because he could guarantee order. And after decades of chaos, order was more valuable than freedom. This is the most uncomfortable truth of Caesar's rise. Many Romans supported him, not because they hated the Republic, but because the Republic had failed to protect them, failed to protect their property, failed to protect their families, failed to protect their lives. Caesar promised stability, and stability was something the system could no longer provide. Remove Caesar from the story, and the outcome barely changes. Another general would have faced the same incentives. Another army would have been loyal to a man instead of the state. Another civil war would have forced the same choice. Rome did not fall because of Caesar. Rome produced Caesar because it needed someone to end the chaos it could no longer control. This is why Caesar was inevitable, not because history demanded a hero or a villain, but because the Republic had eliminated every other option. When institutions fail, power does not disappear. It concentrates, and once concentrated, it does not return voluntarily. The assassination of Caesar did not save the Republic. It proved how deeply broken it was. If killing one man was the only solution left, then the system was already gone. And within a generation, Rome would openly admit what it had been pretending: that the Republic was over. If this changed how you see Julius Caesar, like the video. Subscribe for the next episode, where we'll see how Rome replaced the Republic with something that looked familiar, but wasn't. And comment below, do you think the Roman Republic could have survived without Caesar? Or did it create him long before he ever took power? Because the most important lesson of Caesar's rise is this: history does not collapse because of individuals. It collapses when systems make individuals unstoppable.